So much, Eric. It's a real pleasure for me to be here again today in this virtual spot now, very familiar to anybody in our group. So today it's the final stage, we can call it so, or maybe a point of departure for the future for us and for the speakers involved in this call. For me personally, so this is a foundational moment for all of us, and I'm glad to be moderating this one. So to give you a little background about what has happened during the last 2 months, we've been embarking on a journey leading us towards the road to smart markets. We started out at September 28th with the first introductory meeting led by our Johnny Garcia together with Quincy Jones. Second stage, October 19th, talking about oracles basically, and their own deployment under a supply chain scenario and trade finance scenario. So now we're finally disclosing what the future is going to look like by deploying DLTs and a green revolution. Don't want to bore you too much with my chats. It's not the most expert guy in the lot today, but this is like materialization of my own thoughts and my own brainstorming about what to do next for boosting green supply chain and green trade funds. So I will handle right away the mic to my good friend Johnny Garcia to give a few introductory words. Then stage is yours, Venu, for kicking this off. Johnny, stage is yours, my friend. Take the lead into this.
Not interrupting anything. Hi there, everybody. It's a great pleasure to see you all again. And thank you for joining us for the third part of this wonderful engagement. As you may have heard from Andrea and Eric, thank you so much for having us. Elite Web3 Solutions has been primarily focusing on what is called the consulting and the development of a new model for organizing businesses. This is when we came across these wonderful professionals, Venu, Chris, and a multitude of other stakeholders like Arzu Torin. We have Doug Brooks and a variety of other professionals who are also engaging in the development of these smart markets to make sure tokenization can fulfill its potential and fulfill also the requirements needed by regulatory needs to be able to create interoperable markets. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to one of the industry's most knowledgeable professionals in tokenization from a variety of different perspectives. And along with that, we have Chris Sunderman here, who's an expert in a variety of fields, a great friend of mine who has exposed me to the truth behind the banking systems, mechanisms, as well as how trade and finance can be improved. And with that, we hope that today can give you a little bit of a premise of what to expect as we bring you some revolutionary concepts that I hope will help you all understand how you can bring your supply chain vendors, your own selves as merchants or participants into the blockchain. So Venu, Chris, thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing things.
All right, so I'll just quickly
start
sharing the presentation and then talk about it. Right, if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, that's clear. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, all right, wonderful. All right, so what we are trying to do here, all right, so let me do a quick understanding of the whole protocol first, and then I'll get into the details. So I'm quite excited to talk about circularity finance today. All right. So what are we trying to achieve with circularity finance? All right. So we are basically trying to redefine the whole conventional financial model that is revolving around aspects of compliance, regulation challenges, lack of funding, to ideas, potential ideas that can be big, maybe a Google, Apple, or something else even bigger. It becomes harder to imagine, these big ideas and truly be successful because there are a lot of challenges around developing these ideas. All right. So we are here to ensure that everybody's successful, and bring in a great sustainable ecosystem for our users, namely enterprises, small and medium enterprises, or it can be startups or institutions as well to a certain extent. So we will start working on ecosystem in a manner. So let me kind of define that for you. All right. So what are we doing by saying defining the financial model? All right. So our model tries to tackle a few challenges for budding startups or ideas, and tackle the major roadblocks like lack of funding and issues around compliance challenges that needs to be solved, and at the same time build reputations. All right, how we do it is an interesting way. All right, so as you are aware, we are utilizing Web3 based applications, so that the power is in your hands. What is Web3 basically? The ownership is with you. So we are leveraging that aspect and ensuring that you create businesses that can be both, you know, flexible enough for bringing in compliance, and also the regulations taken care of, and also give you the flexibility of working on your project with you know full transparency, and also good funding that is needed. All right. So we'll start off, we go clockwise, and I'll just give you an idea of what exactly we're trying to do. All right. As a part of circularity finance, now going forward, I might say CFI. Please bear with me. So CFI starts off with doing few major things, and quite differently. So when users get onto the platform, we basically have an option of helping them to choose their own persona, which is either a startup, or individual, all right, or institution. Right? Why do we do that? Now, for an individual or a startup, we basically start off doing their an identity, which is one core aspect of any business to start with. People do work a lot on creating that identity, so we start a unique way of doing it. We have an option on Web3 which is called your soul-bound tokens, which would basically be an identity that can be tied up with any events that are going to happen eventually in the business. And for institutions, as I said, we also use the state of the art Web3 technology based self-sovereign identity, right? So the beauty of self-sovereign identity, it offers you selective disclosure. That's important, isn't it? So institutions are now able to, you know, disclose information more selectively. They have the control, and offer verifiable credentials which are registered in a trusted party, or a government-based registry. And that's the start. Now, what are we doing with liquidity here? All right. So as I said, this ecosystem offers a multitude of Web3 based tools that involves liquidity mining. All right, and and that's how we achieve part of the challenge, that is ensure that businesses are well funded through crowdsourcing or crowdfunding, and also we help liquidity to it, so through our liquidity mining protocol. And then we also have credit rating agency. How do we achieve? We will get into detail on credit rating as well. And of course, we offer insurance to the investors, that basically who are investing in ideas, also get protected with our state-of-the-art protocol. We will get into the depth of it. All right. So moving on. All right. As I mentioned, all right, we begin, because the system is so agnostic in nature. When I say agnostic, it is agnostic both in terms of demography, agnostic in terms of job, which are location, and of course individual as well, right? So different verticals and domains can get onto the platform. So that's the best part of it. and then we start off doing the activity of providing you identity to the business. All right. So this will basically give an opportunity to quickly start, adding information that will eventually increase, reputation both in terms of business and also token-based reputation that eventually will increase the value of the tokens or utility or reputation, and that will increase the value of your business in every given manner. One interesting challenge that you have, which is good to ask, is how do we ensure that we develop these solutions to get, help tailor these solutions together, right? So we have a fantastic team working around with tons of experience, and we have come up with specified SDKs. So for people to understand, SDKs are software development kits, which would provide access or APIs to ensure that you're connected to our platform with quite seamlessly. So it's all about API play, and then that's how you tailor these systems for your needs. All right. And for institutions, as I mentioned, it's all about getting onto the SSI wallet, or which is an entry point. The information is through trusted registries because SSIs work differently. Information is basically converted into verifiable credentials. That's where you have an option of what to disclose. And as a part of our KYC process, we ensure that this is seamlessly done. So you don't really have to have multitude of processes. So we also perform the much needed KYC and KYB. And when we try to use these SSI and soulbound tokens, it becomes quite easier. Hardly takes any time to get the big hurdle of identity created. And with identity being tackled already, the immediate focus is about how do we ensure that you are funded, not just funded, how do we utilize and create sustainability? Now, with our protocol, we create opportunities to ensure not just fund your businesses, we also ensure sustainability in a manner of both financially and as well as purpose-driven systems, which can help as a user to focus on business and ensure that he is kept covered at all times. And this eventually will add on to all the identities, and then eventually we'll be able to get transparent information, which is on all thanks to blockchain that offers complete visibility of what events have taken, and that will add up to reputation that is immutable in nature as well. Going forward, now let's understand microeconomies in a quick short sense. Now we talked about achieving crowdfunding, right? And essentially we see that we start with microeconomy, right? So by definition, right, you're looking at microeconomies as systems that are having its own set of rules, basically governed by a specific set of people, or the whole set of governance is managed internally and quite participatory in nature, right? So in the context of circularity finance, we leverage blockchain that would help create decentralized governance through DAO. Again, the good thing is we have that covered as well. We have DAO Genesis as a part of these systems, and that will help you design, vesting, voting, and governance. That will basically help how would you, use your services or assets more efficient manner. So that's how we start building it. So because we're using a complete automated system that would help you, set governance, on the fly, that would basically mean that it's more modern, more easy to access, and at the same time quite convenient as well for the process of voting and who gets to vote, who gets to choose, etc. That would ensure that the community is quite knowledgeable of what exactly is happening, how decisions are made, and ensure that information is passed in a way that which is more visible in nature. So we create these microeconomies which are well governed, and also all the events are audit ready. When I say audit ready, um, you know regulators or can come in and look at the systems straight up. So if you look at the system to begin with, right? So we are saying that in a way we can say that this is a compliance ready system. So organizations, institutions, and startups can be rest assured about utilizing this systems in in a more convenient and trustful manner. Moving on. All right. So
If you could,
this is kind of
before
an
you dive
important.
into that, Venu, if I could briefly, because microeconomies might be a concept that's foreign to everybody, and so maybe we can kind of help them understand how a supply chain company can become its own microeconomy by being able to create a token, essentially, and helping them understand that they could be on the chain, not just using the database functionality of the blockchain. And if you could, can you just briefly, before you go forward, help correlate two things here: the value and the token discussion that I know everybody's really scared of. I think this is an area where you are an expert in the definition of value correlated to a token, and therefore you know how to obtain utility. Can you speak on what utility for a microeconomy might mean before moving forward, please?
All right, that's a great point. Now, how do we achieve these microeconomy and utility? All right, with our tools built in. All right, so let me kind of give you a value chain that is created, all right, just at a high level. All right, so value chain begins, all right, when the business can we complete the KYC KYB process. Now, how are we trying to get into the next step? All right, we use our token economy uh, application that would help build tokens, create tokens, and these tokens will in turn create a utility into the system. All right. So that will basically cover, right, the aspect of funding, aspect of governance, which will basically help choose the, the parties that can help you govern. So this becomes a platform where users can define the tokens that are interested. The point that everybody is interested in understanding and utilizing it. You get access to these tokens, which are basically distributed among, and um, because, as I said, we have applications to build sustainability through liquidity pools and liquidity mining, where basically you utilize these tokens, right? Whoever is kind of investing in it and also trying to create liquidity into the system, right? We basically bring in these tokens and create the aspect of liquidity mining, liquidity, rewards. All right, that in turn will help systems to kind of grow and thrive, and uh, and that.
Essentially,
Sorry.
if I could, just to make sure that
Yep.
we are mindful of the time, maybe this is, can you go on to the next slide, please? Where we can essentially describe how platforms give tokens utility. And this is the value of the microservices that are going to be offered on the platform that I think will really be able to give everybody a little bit more clarity of these four different solutions. Continue there so that maybe there's a little bit of time here, and we want to be mindful to make sure we get through all the information.
All right. So I understand that. So I'll try to ensure the key points are covered. All right. So as I said, we're going clockwise here, and I'm sorry, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 here. All right. So we talked about setting up microeconomy crowdfunding with both structure. All right. Give me one.
Little,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So we're using smart contracts which can be programmable and enforce unique set of rules which are specific to that particular business. All right. So, and through the DAO Genesis, we basically ensure that you know, if the distribution mechanism is well set, and as I said, we create that governance model that would involve who is taking decisions and how we are facilitating accounting that would ensure that one can not only just maintain a record of distribution, also ensure that the key activity for employees that are working get paid in a manner directly which can be automated straightforward with the tools. All right. So one important thing or one core application of the system is tokenization. We talk about smart markets. What are these smart markets driven by? All right. These smart markets are basically driven with uh, you know smart assets produced by IoT devices or automated systems. So there is less I would say less and less utilization of things which can be erroneous in nature. So let's say, for example, if you're creating smart assets, that would probably involve say carbon credits, or for that matter, energy credits, which is one of an important aspect that is being seen as a part of tokenization, right? So in the case of energy, right, we see that a lot of IoT devices are utilized to measure the amount, the volume of energy that's been stored or produced that is basically tokenized.
Panel.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Venu. This might just be me on my end, but I seem to have lost you. Does anybody seem to have the same issue?
I have
same
the
here.
same
Same here.
here.
I do apologize. We seem to have lost you.
Yes.
I don't know if he's able to hear us. I'm going to go ahead and briefly jump in just to make sure that there is no delay here. Chris, if you don't mind, can you please see if you can reach him by messaging him? But it's the most important thing as we continue to go forward is to make sure that these microeconomies are built upon foundational microservices, which allow the businesses to validate and prove on chain their current ability to meet their obligations. And by being able to leverage these different business tools, we're able to create different types of digital assets. And so, with the intention of being able to prove how a microeconomy can generate regenerative finance assets, we are able to go ahead and then proceed to not only create valuable assets on chain, but we can proceed to then create these assets that represent value. And that value in this case is then being represented in the form of either a digital token or in the form of a digital role, which could be identified through what are called non-fungible tokens. And so it is our goal to help create these microeconomies that are running upon these two parallel digital assets in order to help platforms create digital lines of revenue which are attached back to these different entities which have been registered on chain in order to be able to increase the accountability and automate accounting services as businesses proceed to evolve on chain. keeping in mind that the most important expansion that will occur because of this technology is going to be the ability to create digital value producers in the form of IoT devices. And these IoT devices will be connected back to these applications, which will indicate their own specific ability to produce and at the same time be able to provide accounting services specifically for the solution. And so being able to assign digital roles to these corporate entities so that they can manage who gets access to the data is one of the most important things when building on the blockchain. Regardless of what blockchain you may choose, there are going to be 4 key elements to the growth of these microeconomies. You see these pillars here in front of you, but always keep in mind that anytime that you create an application, that application is going to require the settlement of the exchange of value. And that settlement of the exchange of value, that value must be represented on chain. And that can only be through the attestation of data created on chain, recorded on chain, or obtained from off-chain devices or databases in order to be able to justify what it is that we are talking about. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop here because I believe Venu might have been able to get contacted. Venu, if you're there and you're able to go on to the next slide, please go ahead.
Okay. Well,
please go ahead, take over once again.
All right.
Go on to the next slide.
All right. I'm so sorry. I was thinking that I was audible. I'm so sorry. So I hope you were able to hear what I said on the this slide. All right. So I'll just quickly kind of give you an idea about this. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to ensure that compliance and regulatory information is covered from right up, first step. So that's why we provision smart contracts in a way that you can program them well for these audits or regulatory compliances right up. So when we create the crowdfunding that we offer, we basically talk about how you can tailor these solutions to the geography that user or institutions are effectively part of. Okay. Now, when we also create these economies in a manner of full decentralization on a trustless system, we also bring in the governance element, which is important in a way that one has to understand. When we try to create a complete decentralized system and an ecosystem that has applications that give you full transparency, we basically bring in DAO Genesis as an application that would help you vesting and also help you with setting up who has an opportunity to vote, who has the opportunity to basically try and help distribute aspects like a salary and so on. So this becomes a system of on-chain accountability that basically ensures that aspects like full salary distribution, accounting is done on chain, which will basically be an efficient manner going forward to for the businesses to take care. Right. One core aspect of the application or the ecosystem is your universal tokenization engine. All right. What does this mean for everybody? All right. Universal tokenization engine effectively is a system that would allow assets to be produced automatically. All right. And without much erroneous data being added to the system or no human intervention. As an example, let's take energy here. Energy can be tokenized in different forms. But what's so smart about it, if you are just recording the data from IoT devices that are centrally achieved, or the data is pulled by central systems like AWS or Azure cloud gateways, what we do is we bring in the aspect of smart collection of data. So IoT devices usually throw in a lot of device information that basically is throwing streams of data continuously. What we do is create an automated system that would understand reliability of the data, that would eventually be stored and managed in a way, all right, internally, completely automated to tokenize. So we create that aspect of conversion of reliable data directly and more reliably, and then can be, you know, converted into tokens that can eventually be part of the ecosystems of liquidity and governance and so on. So one beauty out here is because all of these are powered by blockchain, it is quite evident that we do things in very transparent manner. So we can come up with proof of reserves um, at any time that are ready to be checked, validated, and authenticated. That basically will add up reputation in every given second. So moving on, pillars, as Johnny was talking about, is we have these 4 pillars that you see. All right. Most important is your role that will help you. What is action that you can take into the system? So that would basically be done by one decentralized application, tokens which are trustless, and then we have set of applications that are helping you get different revenue streams, both for reputation as well as liquidity or much needed funding. And of course, the value chain is basically created in an automated manner that would help manage these businesses quite seamlessly, right? With that being said, I would like to bring in my fellow speaker, Chris Sunderman here. I greatly respect his insight into the system. So he'll be sharing his thoughts on the same, and then I will chime in as and when required.
Thank you very much, Venu. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, let's take it a little bit from a pragmatical view. We have heard a lot about the technology, and I would like to add some pragmatical matters to this. As you know, we all live in an era where climate change and resource scarcity has become increasingly alarming, and we need to move and transform from an economic development to a more sustainable, impact-driven global business. And it's happening around us. We all are part of that. And as a result of this, the evolution of traditional financial systems is happening into innovative new models, as we present today, and we call them microeconomies. And these embrace a culture of sustainable economic development. We all know there's a lot of inequality in the society, and parties that are excluded from access to finance, they face extremely difficulty in participating in the society. And what we also see is that these parties, they often hold valuable assets which they could use to obtain finance. But how do they do it? Well, we know that regenerative finance is a concept that could support these parties in their endeavors, and we could help them in achieving the goals of growth and be partaking to the society. And we then combine the principle of finance and sustainability through technology. To enable this, we must address the bridge between the decentralized digital world of regenerative finance and the traditional centralized banking systems, which we have now. The core of this convergence lies in how liquidity providers can leverage and interact with these regenerative finance instruments. And with the implementation of modules for data tokenization, which we have discussed earlier, regulated assets creation, smart or self-regulated assets and markets, and capital management, decentralized apps, circularity finance effectively digitizes real-world environmental efforts, and we transform them into valuable digital assets. These assets, much like their tangible counterparts, such as gold, land, or commercial properties, or whatever you can name them, you can mention them yourself. These can act as a collateral for that. So by integrating these digital assets into a traditional banking system, banks can utilize these regenerative finance instruments as collateral assets. And this includes, for instance, plastic credits and carbon credits, tokenized representations of impactful environmental actions. And these can bolster the liquidity providers, the banks' reserves, while also fulfilling their lending regulations. However, the interplay between these new digital assets and traditional banking goes beyond reserve requirements. With the capacity to treat regenerative finance assets as collateral assets, liquidity providers can engage in new markets and business models, enhancing their own financial status. They can issue loans collateralized against these assets and can also participate in the trading and monetization of these credits in the global market. The integration signifies a shift in banking practices and also fosters a more resilient, transparent, and sustainable financial system. Through this, businesses, liquidity providers, and consumers can play a direct role in environmental sustainability while unlocking new economic opportunities, and that's what we strive for, and create their own microeconomies. This new paradigm offers an impactful way to balance economic progress with our responsibility towards the environment, moving us closer to our goal of reaching a net zero by 2050. By harnessing the power of IoT devices, decentralized applications, AI, and distributed ledger technology, regenerative finance represents a self-sustaining financial ecosystem. The circularity regenerative finance ecosystem harmonizes resource usage, waste reduction, and unlocks profitability that was previously overlooked by millions. And it opens a new era for sustainable business operations. And as the letterhead already said, as it continues to disrupt the traditional trade finance and financial landscape, circularity is the smart network that connects and enables the ones who have with the ones who have not. And maybe, Venu, if you would like to move to the next slide, we can briefly outline the Web3 supply chain journey, where we directly see the benefits of the microeconomies, whereas circularity finance offers a unique proposition which enables the creation of an identity on board of the network, which allows participants to trade NFTs freely, but subject to satisfying all KYC requirements. And once the KYC has been successfully been fulfilled, parties are allowed to the network, and new entries can create their own business account and become a creator of their own microeconomy. They pick and choose their own required decentralized apps and services, get access to loans and derivatives, using NFTs as collateral. Smart or self-regulated contracts for risk management, transaction handling, and financial compliance are required, of course. Collaborations with financial institutions, fintechs, and blockchain finance experts would be key for this. Anyway, by implementing, where am I? So if we look at the current graphic, we see directly the benefits of these new microeconomies, where parties are enabled to partake in the collaborative network, where the real world problems are addressed with fresh, innovative solutions. Let me see. When it comes to the IoT devices, the management of private keys is critical for data security. These devices, which could range from sensors in solar panels to automated machinery, used in plastic waste removal, for instance, communicate to the blockchain using cryptographic keys. Ensuring these keys are securely stored and managed is a priority for circularity. The secure management of private keys starts with the creation of a secure digital wallet, which is assigned to each IoT device. And this wallet acts as the device entity, and private keys are akin to this password. Moreover, the ability to delegate wallet responsibility rights to the IoT devices provides a layer of automation, efficiency, and security. Using advanced cryptographic techniques, IoT devices can perform certain operations like sending transaction data to the blockchain without exposing the private keys. However, the delegation of these keys doesn't mean uncontrolled access. There are strict controls in place, and these devices only get enough access to perform their duties. For instance, while a sensor in a solar panel might have the ability to write data to the blockchain, it won't have the permission to transfer ownership to assets to approve transactions. The least privilege model is a cornerstone of robust security design. And of course, GDPR compliance is an essential part of the circularity ecosystem strategies, not only for operating within the European Union, but also for adopting best practices in data privacy and security globally. The platform's commitment to data protection, combined with its pioneering work in regenerative finance, signals a new era of sustainable economic development underpinned by trust and privacy. Closing the supply chain by obtaining access to liquidity pools and become active participants in and contribute to your own microeconomy. These days, these data license rights is really the proof of the benefits of the ecosystem. It is a clear graphic of how this microeconomy could look like and how the participant could benefit from it.
Hey, sorry, Chris. I think we've lost your sound as well.
And the connection today, I'm not then.
Chris, I do apologize. We seem to have lost you here. Would you be okay to just really quick try to make a quick comeback? I'll try to go ahead and fill in the gap here if possible, considering there is a big demand for being able to validate a lot of these different digital assets. If you like, Chris, you can just briefly exit, come right back in. That seemed to have fixed it for me. And so one of the most important things as we continue to move forward is looking at industries like the shipping industry in the sense of how we perform exports and imports. And so these digital assets are going to help us validate the authenticity of someone's true ownership, helping us solve the possession problem that now has been, as in a sense, complemented with new regulatory policy that allows us to use electronic documents to be able to validate information. And technologies like blockchain allow us to be able to leverage those hashes and, more importantly, the digital asset smart contracts to be able to help create automation of these systems. And so, Chris, I see that you're back. I'm going to go ahead and, with excitement, hand it back over to you. Let's give it a shot. Is anybody able to go ahead and maybe get access to hear Chris? Venu, are you able to hear Chris? I'm having a little bit of difficulty.
Yeah.
No, we cannot.
We cannot hear you. Maybe you can take it over, Johnny. What do you think?
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Chris Johnson back. His audio is back. I'll probably talk about it.
Venu, if you're able to go to the next slide.
Right. Chris, you back?
Still
can't hear you.
We cannot.
So, no worries. Let me talk about it. So, well, here we kept on talking about systems being automated, tokens being utilized for different aspects of sustainable business. All right. What the key takeaways from here would basically be is the ability to understand efficiently driven businesses. All right. So increased productivity using applications that are part of the ecosystem circularity finance, where you are given access to lenders, and then of course you have a rewarding system for being part of it, and then you have the the I would say leverage to basically protect your assets, investments, and at the same time cover the different aspects of operating a business. That's how you can bring in financial productivity into the systems now. All right. So what this gives businesses or investors an opportunity to use is select the brands or businesses they would like to attach themselves to, so that would in turn bring in the sort of loyalty that we would like to see. And kept talking about how one can audit the systems when things can be automated, right? So the data is very much available for audit anytime, because we use you know uh, assets tracked on blockchain that can be in turn saved on chain. So the data is provided for regulators or auditors, which can be either private auditors or the law of the land, that can look into events and also extract information from there on.
Excuse
So
me,
that's
Venu, I think
how.
Chris has made it back. I don't know if Chris, can you go ahead and give it a shot?
Can you hear me?
Wonderful. Sorry
Yes.
about that.
Okay. I think don't know what went wrong, but anyway, that's a bit weird to continue this slide when I think I've said most of it, and Venu added a lot to that. But in fact, this one is about, well, of course, the tokenization market analysis. It says it all about the potential and in the application of the tokenized market that is out there, untapped, partly tapped but untapped, with a lot of potential for the coming years, to open up new markets and to in fact make available for those who don't have, by the ones who have. So the market, circularity finance is active in, and the network that we will build will provide access to funding for a multitude of companies, entrepreneurs who lack the connection to the current society. And by this slide, we want to show you the potential of the technology and the network for the outside world in a sustainable way. So it's not only finance, it's not only blunt economy, but it's the sustainability aspects of that, creating new markets, in fact, offering the participants in the industry to create their own markets, granting access to multitude of services, by giving them access to the circularity finance network. And it's important to add to that the 5 trillion which was mentioned there is can be addressed to the untapped trade finance market that is unfinanced, and we would open that market for those parties that bring an important value to the market for the industries, for the society, and give them independency for a better future, for welfare and for prosperity. My last slide is about the smart value chain, and well, it in fact is a summary of what I've said before in the previous slides. The smart value chain as presented here, it enables a dynamic and collaborative network where the basic real-world problems, which are so visible but cannot be solved through our centralized economy at this point in time, we are addressing them with fresh and innovative solutions. The intertwined benefits of problem solving, talent networking, and technology take place, and circularity is at the forefront of catalyzing sectoral growth and development. We believe that circularity will serve as an innovation nexus, bringing together the ones who have and the ones who have not in a concerted effort to tackle challenges through collective funding and an interactive, mutually beneficial ecosystem. We trust that the participants out there in a somehow forgotten situation will be able to build their own microeconomies through the circularity network in a sustainable way that will be beneficial not only for themselves but also to the rest of the world. And we aim to contribute towards that an interconnected and self-sustaining global economic framework. And I'm pretty convinced that it will lead to a better world, a more inclusive world, and lead to the solution of the problems we're facing right now. And I'd like to hand over back to Venu for the last slides.
Remember that there is a couple of questions.
All right.
Be asking, be answering soon, guys. And if you want to go ahead, maybe quickly on the slides.
All right.
Or maybe these two questions first.
Would we, Venu, would you be able to go to the very last slide, and then maybe we'll take on questions? Thank you. Please go ahead, Andrea.
All right.
Yeah. So hang on a second. It's messing up these things with. Oh, hang on. Do you intend to just have a linear relationship with the token in a system that has multi-assets? And then there is another one connected to this, which is asking who will audit the automatic system to ensure that values on the chain retains quality and validity. So I think these two questions by Jose are intimately entwined. You want to pick on that, Venu? Johnny?
All right, sure. In fact, Johnny, you want to
take the second one if you want to take the first, Ben.
Sure. All right, great. So great question, Jose. All right, so what we basically try to do here is, now we basically try to provide a platform to align identity and and assets produced by businesses to be connected, and basically would be able to leverage this and expose themselves to services in financial markets. So what this basically happens is, it brings you three-step process. We basically identifying the businesses. Then we are trying to ensure that assets are now conveniently tracked on immutable ledgers, and then leverage this information to create value chains together. So as the businesses perform longer, you tend to use identity and also assets together to ensure the best results possible going forward. So I've already texted you the answer as well. Okay. Go ahead, Johnny.
No. I was going to ask, Jose, does that kind of give you a little bit more clarity on that question before we move forward?
You can use the chat if you would like to.
Or a thumbs up, if not a thumbs down. But before we get to the second one, of course. Alrighty. Give you a few more seconds so that we don't have this silence and we maximize our time here. So I'll go on to the second one.
Yeah, you can go.
The most important thing, as you guys just kind of asked about, is the who's validating. And in order to have validation of data in a way that is beneficial to everybody, you need to have a neutral party that is not a private sector company or organization. It's a nonprofit organization focusing on creating, along with some of the best universities in the world, a methodology to be able to validate what are considered to be, in this case, in regenerative finance, called climate positive events. Should one be able to obtain data from a variety of sources, you can always validate your data against these third-party neutral databases, which are going to allow you to be able to get access to a validation through their methodology. Now, I believe everybody will be incredibly happy to hear that Circularity Finance is working side by side with the Green Cross International to be able to bring this type of revolutionary assets forward and create a new standard for regenerative finance. In such a relationship, there will be immediate automatic attestation of the data that has been created. And by being able to validate on-chain and off-chain data in multiple different ways, we're going to be able to take a variety of different industries forward, from energy, waste, water. We're going to be able to proceed to even include a lot more of, as you guys know, the agricultural sector. And in order to do this, you must first have what is the most important thing for any asset to be able to enter import and export economies, and that is a digital passport that validates every single touch point that has been involved with the creation and the transporting or financing of any commodities created. And so that is why the road to smart markets, as you see in front of you, is one where over the next few months, you'll be seeing various different modules being deployed that leverage the Circularity Finance token in order to unlock access to these various microservices that will empower businesses to automate their entire microeconomy. And with that, I hope that it gives you a little bit more clarity. I believe, Jose, if that was you that asked the second question. And if that gives you more clarity, then I would love to hear some more from everybody else if there's any other questions so that we can really bring you some clarity here.
Remember that we coming close to on top of the hour, so we still have a few minutes maybe left, if Rick agrees on that.
Curious if there's any more questions that maybe we can help with. I know that it's really important for, great question. Thank you, Scott. Where are you getting the connection to the global economies? Well, as you see, there is a multitude of microeconomies waiting to be born. And what matters most is the opportunity to onboard organizations and corporations in a way where there is a centralized point where individuals can onboard themselves, their company, their applications, and their entire business can essentially be automated. These are all being brought to Circularity Finance from different sectors as we continue to expand on various pilots that are currently running in different areas of the world. There are learning management software applications that are being created on Web3 that will be able to create compensation for improving your education. There are corporate health and wellness protocols that will be able to attract the fitness industry. And we are working in synergies with the World Calisthenics Organization to create a new standard for gyms and a new standard for being able to validate the authenticity of certified skills on the blockchain, along with Hyperledger Labs, along with the GBBC. And as we continue to move forward to bring in other projects, we are working in various sectors along with a project, as you all may have heard of, called Tembekasua. It's an agricultural technology marketplace to bring Nigeria and the continent of Africa to a new age of farming and a new age of banking the unbanked. The way that we are achieving this is with the Circularity Finance prepaid and debit cards that will be connected directly to your wallets. You'll be able to spend directly from your debit cards or your prepaid cards, allowing us to bring tremendous value to those corners of the world that have currently been limited in their financial access. And by using regenerative finance to create these different assets, the Green Cross themselves will finally be able to give all of their projects the opportunity to get going on Web3, bringing a multitude of, let's say, 5-star projects onto the blockchain in a way that users will be able to validate these corporations because of their previous records, not because they're just hoping to make it. These are corporate entities that are trying to prove their global impact as they aim to be able to prepare for what is called the 2050 net zero agenda. And so if you may be running a corporation that is interested in getting started with that, I highly recommend you talk to these groups of professionals. As you know, Elite Web3 Solutions is helping to consult and align a lot of these projects to be able to guarantee that the development is synergistic to the circularity finance infrastructure. And I hope that that was able to answer your question a little bit more, Scott.
There's one more, Johnny, from Scotty. How is
I see another one.
Yeah, before we wrap it up, how is the onboarding leveraged for state assets to be brought into this channel, into this chain of finance, right, to induce the integration with circularity? Another good one by Scotty.
A wonderful question.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if Venu or Chris, you may want to touch on that. Okay, so it all comes back to what is called collateralizable assets. The best way forward with any microeconomy to be able to flourish is to be able to have essentially what is a collateralizable asset that can be tokenized, and something like a letter of credit, something like a PPA. These different things are going to be able to allow regulated platforms like Circularity Finance, by gaining the trust of the industry, to onboard these different types of assets on chain and to create them as collateralizable assets where you'll be able to unlock a federated stablecoin because of them. And that is in the roadmap right now, that is coming to guarantee the stability that these assets are going to be able, the liquidity that these assets are going to be able to create will add stability to the network just as much as they'll add value by unlocking the value of these different PPAs and trade agreements that may occur internally within these nations and private sectors in order to facilitate the access to that liquidity. The last question that was just added there, so I do apologize. Thank you, Scott. Great to see your answer there. And Boris, great to see your question as well. These are also going to be prepaid cards and debit cards. So crypto will act essentially as a way for the account to understand its value, and the user will either be able to engage in a hybrid account with their bank and crypto, or solely crypto, and attach that to the direct value of the card. And then to your second question, yes, it will be, yes to the first one, there is off ramp, and the second, no, it won't be both. It'll just be physical. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more clarity on things, Boris. And I appreciate the question there. There's great technology being integrated. At the moment, the most important thing is that there is a path to be able to create smart markets. And with your attendance here, we've been able to really put together, hopefully, a strong path for everybody who may watch the 3-part series to be able to understand how value can be created on chain, how organizations can create roles and identify these different roles with their utility platforms, leveraging these microeconomy tokens to be able to leverage those platforms for their true utility microservices, and being able to provide supply chain the growth that it needs by providing the transparency and interoperability that's needed for all of these private sectors to work together with government and bring efficiency to the average population by being able to make these services more affordable and ultimately more secure in the long run. If there's no more questions, Andrea, I'd love to pass it back to you, but I'd love to say thank you to both Venu and Chris, the team PLI, and Quincy Jones for jumping in and supporting this entire initiative. It's been a pleasure.
It was an amazing series of meetings, something really, really insightful and impactful for the future. So thank you guys. It's a pleasure. It's an honor for me to be with you today and on the other two occasions. So I give back the mic to my Canadian brother, Eric, and for him to wrap it up.
So we apologize, folks, for the solar flares kind of messing up our technology here today. I hope you caught most of it. We did record, so we'll make that available. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and try to answer those. So again, thank you very much. Thank you, Johnny, for setting up this fantastic series for us. I know I learned a lot, and it's only the beginning, right? We have a lot of work still to do.
No, thank you, Eddie, and it's been a true pleasure, and thank you to the entire BSCA for the support. I can't wait to tell everybody else around what it is that we are building collectively, and more importantly, if you're not part of the BSCA, please take a moment to look at their website. You'll be able to go ahead and get tremendous benefit and engage with all of these wonderful professionals. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so
Bye.
much. Take care.